Hello everyone, how's it going? It's Corey here from Lakeside Aquascaping. Today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about algae. So we're going to be mostly looking at this tank. Let me close that blind. So we're going to be looking at this tank here. And we'll talk about some of the other tanks as well. But I want to talk about how you get algae and how you can get rid of it and the certain types of things you can do before you start dosing chemicals. I'm not going to recommend any chemicals in this video as I don't use them and I don't believe you need to use them. So basically, if you have algae of any sort, so like in this tank, you can see right here on the end of this log there's some hair algae, and at the tips of those leaves there's some hair algae as well. But for the most part this tank is clear. Now this tank here is completely clear, and the difference is that I very carefully dose my iron and my different fertilizers into this tank, where that tank I'm a little more willy-nilly. And that is 100% the difference. So whenever you have algae, it's simply caused by an excess of a nutrient or anything in the tank, right? Like it could be excess nutrients, it could be excess light, it could be something along those lines, but it's excess of something. And the way you can start to fix this is you can literally black your tank out for a few days, and then from there start lowering the lighting period if you believe your light is too high. If you have red plants that need the light to be really high, then start limiting other factors. Take away some of the iron and some of the other chemicals in the tank. Don't give it as much as you normally would. And then if you're still having issues, I would recommend trying something like a phosphate pad. It's a simple pad that you throw in your filter. You cut a little section out and put it in your filter, and it seriously drastically strips the phosphates from the water, and that will do a great job in keeping any algae away that you're having trouble with. So I always recommend on doing natural things first, guys. So if you believe it to be lighting, start with reducing the lighting period on your tank. See if there's any windows nearby. Make sure the windows aren't always shining direct sunlight in the tank. Things like that do contribute to algae and will make a mess in the tank. As for chemicals and stuff, there is I forget the name of it. I think it's Prime. Maybe not Prime. Excel. Something like that. Either way, it's like the liquid carbon or whatever. That's an algicide, and be very, very careful using that product if you are going to use it. But I highly recommend you don't use it and you just figure out how to get your tank in balance. Once your tank is in balance like this one here is, you won't have to add any fertilizers that are more than what your plants need. You'll know the specific amounts you're putting in. You'll know everything, right? So, and it should stay the same and it won't change. Like as the plants grow, you'll have to add a bit more, obviously, and things like that. But for the most part, the care for this tank is going to remain the same for quite a long time. And then like this tank here, because I have algae problems, I know it's from me dosing too much. So I'm going to be a little bit more careful with how much I put in. I might not put any in on the next water change and just let this tank pull out the extra nutrients before I go ahead and add more. That's another way that I think is a really good way of getting rid of the extra nutrients in a tank. So just keep this kind of stuff in mind, guys, when you have fish and when you have algae or any kinds of problems. Just try to do it as natural as possible. I always like to give the example of hospital air versus air in a forest. In a hospital, you have very clean, dust-free air with no pollutants in it. But it doesn't taste very nice to us. As we're breathing it in, it's not very pleasant. Where when you go in the forest, you may be breathing in all kinds of debris and pollen and dust and matter and all kinds of stuff out there. But the air that you're breathing in the forest feels better in your lungs because it's natural. It's done in a natural way and it feels natural. I believe our fish feel the exact same way about their water, and they would rather forest water than hospital water. So keep that in mind, guys, in your tanks. Try to do everything as pure as possible. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, like and subscribe, and there will be more to come.